A very good evening and many thanks for joining us on Rwanda TV News.
Now, this Wednesday at Urugwiro village, President Paul Kagame met with the Chief of General Staff of Mali and Armed Forces, Major General Omar Diarra, who is in Rwanda on a 3-day visit.
People with disabilities are calling on authorities to include prosthetics on universal health insurance, commonly known as Mutual de Santé.
And still making news, court has postponed to next week the pre-trial hearing of Jean-Paul Michomyiza, a 49-year-old genocide suspect who was recently extradited from Sweden at the request of Rwanda. Many thanks, and thanks for choosing RTV News tonight. I am Isabel Masozera.
I'm Ethan Tashobia, and I hope you're doing well.
All right, now let's get to our top story for the day. This Wednesday at Urugwiro village, President Paul Kagame met with the Chief of Malian Armed Forces, General Omar Diarra, who is recently in Rwanda on a 3-day visit, and he was accompanied by the Chief of Defense Staff in Rwanda for the Defense Force, General Jean Bosco Kazura, and the RDF Head of International Military Cooperation, Brigadier General Patrick Karuretwa. Diarra told the media on Wednesday that him and his delegation were in Rwanda to draw from the unique Rwandan experience and the stability in the country, as well as the capacity of Rwandan army to conjoin, for example, the case in Mozambique. He also noted that key areas of cooperation between Rwanda and Mali national forces would include human resources, training, and military welfare, among others.
While in other stories, people with disabilities say that prosthetics implants are essential as they help them to survive in their life after losing limbs.
Now, they are requesting to be assisted in accessing artificial limbs by including them in the universal insurance, commonly known in Rwanda as Mutual de Santé. Jen Mutoni now reports.
Ushashi Victoire, a resident of Gasabo district, says that his disability at a young age and the injuries he suffered from the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi are the reasons why he needs a prosthetic implant to be able to carry on with life.
When I was 3 years old, my parents told me that physicians injected a large needle on my hip on an L-sciatic nerve that paralyzed my leg, and during the genocide, they also stabbed me with a knife, and it damaged the vein that transports blood through my leg, which is why they gave me a prosthetic implant to support my other leg that is weak. So far, I've wore 5 prosthetic implants.
He says that prosthetic implants play a major role in the daily life of a person with a disability.
A prosthetic implant enables me to do all domestic activities, walk to any destination that I want.
The National Council of Persons with Disabilities say that 80% of those who need prosthetic implants have them, while only 50% have prosthesis. Ndayisaba Emmanuel, the executive secretary of the council, said advocacy is being done so that all those who need prosthesis could get it.
Most people with disabilities use Mutual de Santé insurance, but up to this moment, they still have to travel to Gatagara in Nyanza to get the prosthetics, whereas prostheses are available at hospitals including Sahashk and Sehashibe. In the district hospitals, in the process of reforming the public sector, they have set up services for people with disabilities so that in a few days, prosthesis services will be available to people in their area, in their districts.
By helping those in need of prosthetics, the Mulindi Japan One Love Institute, which had suspended its operations for 3 years, is now back to making those equipment.
The goal is to enable someone with a disability to get up, a person with no legs to stand up. We don't want to see someone that lost their legs crawling. We want to reach everyone that has lost hope and reach them where they are. Take their measurements, make the prosthetics, and return back with them.
Only the Japan One Love Institute has been making prostheses since 1997, and those who can afford buy them, and those who can't afford, they are given to them free of charge through a request to their local administrations. Jane Mutoni, RTV News.
Thank you, Jen. In more news, the Ministry of Local Government has urged households that are assisted in fighting malnutrition as well as child stunting to effectively utilize the assistance offered and avoid using it for their personal gain. Giseline Mugwaneza brings us more.
Kamanayo and his wife gave birth to 10 children, but only 8 are alive. Having no birth control led to stunting to one of their children because of malnutrition. The family gets shisha chiwondo flour for the child, but the whole family shares it. They say giving birth to many children is among the main causes of stunting.
We thought that the flour is for the entire family and we could share it. And we are told that the flour is only for a child with a problem.
The problem was caused by giving birth to many children. I couldn't manage to care for them and provide all they need. I couldn't cook porridge for the child because I was pregnant, and you know that a pregnant woman cannot manage doing all that. Those are the effects of not practicing family planning. Parents that have come to collect their flour at Njeruka Health Center have noted what limits them from achieving their goal of eradicating malnutrition and child stunting. They give me 2 packets, and then I cook porridge and share it with my child and my husband when he's available. Others at home have their own flour to make porridge. That is like a medicine for a breastfed child. The nutritionist at the health center has said that despite the challenges, they do follow up to know how the beneficiaries utilize the assistance. In the journey of fighting malnutrition and child stunting, we are providing shisha chiwondo flour to 438 women and 810 children. In doing follow-up, we work with community health workers or else reach the community ourselves. Surprisingly, ask them how they're using the flour. When they show us the remaining flour, then it means that they're not selling it, or share it with the rest of the family, or else measure the height and weight of the child whenever they come to the hospital. Bugesera district had 39.4% of the children under 5 years that are stunted, which is currently at 26.1%. The Minister of State in charge of Social Affairs in the Ministry of Local Government, Assumpta Ingabire, highlights the hindrances to the government goal in fighting malnutrition and stunting. Shisha chibondo is only given to the child with a problem, not the whole family. We have seen some that sell the flour, and we punish them as well as the sellers that bought it. But what is more important is to know how to utilize well what has been given, because if you knew how your child will be affected, you wouldn't misuse what the government has provided for the child. Stunting among children under the age of 5 in Rwanda declined from 38% in 2015 to 33% in 2020, and the target is to reduce stunting to 19% by 2024. Giseline Mugwaneza, RTV News.
Thank you, Giseline. Now, court has postponed to next week the pre-trial hearing of Jean-Paul Mitomyiza, a 49-year-old genocide suspect who was recently extradited from Sweden at the request of Rwanda. Mitomyiza was on Wednesday, May the 11th, presented before Kicukiro Primary Court for the first time, and he will be there. And on the April 27th, beg your pardon, he will present more. Now, he faces 5 charges, including murder, explicit to commit genocide, rape causing permanent injuries, and crimes against humanity.
Now, all these crimes were committed during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. Mitomyiza and his lawyers requested 5 days to examine his dossier, urging that one of them access the indictment late at night, while others have not yet connected to the system, so that they will be able to access and go through it. Now, the presiding judge resolved to adjourn the trial so that suspects and his lawyers get enough time to examine his dossiers.
Now, during the genocide committed against the Tutsi in 1994, Micho Myiza was a second-year student at the National University of Rwanda in the Faculty of Applied Sciences. As a university student, he was also a member of a committee called Committee de Crécy that was instrumental, in committing the genocide.
Now, in more stories, 18 farmer groups in 4 sectors of Ruhango district say they have already made significant strides in raising milk harvest, but want to expand their investment in livestock sector.
Imana Dairy Farm, which these dairy farms supply, is currently worth 380 million and has the capacity to facilitate 5,000 liters of milk and it is now worth 3,500. Precious Kirezi has this report.
Testimonies of dairy development are one of the pleasant stories the farmers shared with the Vice President of the International Fund for Agricultural Development. They collaborated on a Rwanda dairy development project that was aimed at enhancing farmers' knowledge and expertise, as a member of one of the teams elaborates. The cow used to provide 2 liters of milk, but that quantity went up when I started paying more attention to its sanitation and getting it checked in time. I never paid much attention to its health. All I did was keep its water supply up because I didn't know enough about farming. Aside from the team Marie-Claire is part of, the dairy sector in general desires to pursue a future in farming investments. The permanent secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture says the government is ready to support these farmers, especially because what they're pursuing is in line with the country's development.
We are going to help them get all the necessary requirements for milk production. This includes provision of quality fruits and increasing their resources and finding other ways for the milk to be productive besides freezing and selling it. The cooperative's objectives are in line with our own and we will collaborate with them to hit our targets.
The Vice President of IFAD, Dominique Zila, appreciates Rwanda's effort in promoting agriculture despite several residents not having big chunks of land to facilitate it. His corporation will continue to collaborate with the Rwandan government with the aim to develop the citizens' lifestyle, especially in rural areas.
I mean, we're just about to design another project for Rwanda. You know probably that IFAD, we have our 3-year financing cycles, and in each cycle Rwanda also gets an allocation of money. We're talking here roughly about $55 million that are going to come within the next 3 years. We'll commit them for a new project, and we will see that this also will go to the rural areas of the country. So we will continue to cooperate with the government on fostering these rural areas, fostering agriculture, increasing productivity, looking also at the most vulnerable groups. So you can count on us that we'll continue to be with you.
Jimana Dairy is currently worth 380 million and has the capacity to facilitate 5,000 liters of milk, though it is now at 3,500. During the dry season, the harvest is between 2,500 to 3,000 liters. Farmers are of the view that more effort is needed to increase the quantity of milk harvest and that this is the basis on which using milk for other productive purposes stands on. Precious Tirezi, RTV News.
Thanks, Precious. Now, 946 female coffee growers and exporters under Mayogi Coffee Cooperative based in Gicumbi district are proud of the progress that they have achieved, and they are attributing it to advanced farming mechanisms.
This was pointed out as they received more modern farming tools from the Sustainable Growers Rwanda, a non-governmental organization that promotes women through coffee farming. Jen Mutoni has this report.
On more than 200 hectares of land, coffee is grown by members of the Mayogi Coffee Cooperative in Muko sector in Gicumbi. The farmers say that they have achieved a lot after the reform of coffee farming, even though they had a low perception of coffee farming. We had a very low perception of coffee farming because we thought it's only done by men. We didn't know that even women are capable of growing coffee. But through the training sponsored by Sustainable Growers, we learned how to prepare coffee, how to consume it, and how to prepare it in our homes. The women coffee farmers, after a year of training by a non-governmental organization for the advancement of women through Sustainable Coffee Growers in collaboration with NAEB, received awards including agricultural equipment, mattresses, radios, telephones, and livestock including cows, goats, and everything else worth 180 million. The farmers say that this will help them to grow quality coffee exported to the international market. During a coffee harvest season, Maji Coffee Cooperative in Gicumbi exports more than 18 tons of coffee to different countries around the world. The CEO of a non-governmental organization that promotes women through coffee farming, Kristen Kondo, explains why they chose to train women that participated in coffee farming. The reason we chose women is because we support the government's plan to support women in terms of development, hence supporting men in the process of preparing coffee. As we all know the history of Rwanda, after the genocide, women were stuck because no one was able to farm. Even though they had knowledge on farming, they didn't know the value chain of coffee. So this project is aimed to teach women about coffee from the farm to a cup. The executive secretary of Gicumbi district urges the coffee farmers to take care of the equipment they have been given and make use of them while growing modern coffee.
Nuko bino bikoresho bahawe birimo bitandukanye bijyanye n'ubuhinzi.
We urge them to make good use of this equipment while growing quality coffee and taking care of it, to make it internationally acknowledged coffee, while it also elevates their standards of living as well.
Kandi nabo ikabateza imbere nk'abahinzi bakawa.
A non-governmental organization that promotes women through Sustainable Coffee Growers operates in 6 districts across the country in collaboration with NAEB. 5,046 women members of coffee cooperatives will be provided with training and equipment worth over 100 million by the organization. Jane Mutoni, RTV News.
Smallholder farmers have been urged to insure their crops and animals and to work closely with financial institutions to make sure that they are protected from climate change.
Now, in the next report, sustainable farming activists and experts tell us how insuring crops can help farmers access finance to invest in their agricultural projects, but also mitigate the impact of natural hazards.
Nyirafashaho Clementine is one of the farmers who have participated in a series of collaborative discussions to help farmers learn how to deal with climate change. She asserted that her confession is inspired by a painful experience.
What we want to do in this event is to bring to the attention not only of the government but also of private sector like banks and microfinances and farmer organizations, cooperatives, what together we can do to mitigate the effects of climate change, to reduce the impact of climate change on these ordinary people so that their livelihood is protected.
The non-governmental organization CODAD urges farmers to double their efforts in tackling the effects of climate change, relentlessly acquiring funds from financial institutions to invest in agriculture.
Turagira ngo ibigo by'imari bimenye ikintu gishyashya gihari cyitwa imihindagurikire y'ikirere.
We want financial institutions to be up to date with the latest on climate change, so that they are well equipped to take necessary measures to help farmers. For example, financial institutions that offer short-term loans. It is obvious when you see a farmer looking for a loan to plant trees and they come to you applying for a 1-year loan. New frameworks must be employed that take climate change into consideration so that we are not affected.
The Association of Microfinance Institutions in Rwanda says the organization seeks to work with farmers. However, they highlighted that collaboration is more feasible when farmers have insured their agricultural projects.
What we advise farmers in particular is to go to insurance companies and exploit the privileges that come with insuring their crops before approaching financial institutions for funds to invest in their agriculture projects. The way it becomes easier to acquire funds and more reliable because we know when climate change hazards hit, insurance companies will compensate them.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources is calling upon farmers to take better care of the land to ensure productivity.
We are encouraging farmers to take better care of the environment, embrace government's policies that preserve their communities because we can't develop the agriculture sector while constantly being hit with floods. On the other hand, if we are intentional about keeping our soil watered, harvested rainwater can help during the dry seasons.
CODAD is developing farmers' capacities, linking them to markets and financial institutions, and is operating in 20 countries, including Rwanda.
Now, into sports in Rwanda, when it comes to football, there are two teams that everyone has a soft spot for.
Okay.
In terms of APR and race ball. So which one do you actually fall for?
That's a simple one. I'll say blue, except I think you're wearing the wrong color. That should have been here.
I think I should have started, I should have worn a black and white kind of. Now, today, you all know what happened. It was a day of missed chances as the Royal Sport and APR tie ended in a goalless draw in the first leg of the Peace Cup semi-finals played at the Kigali Stadium in Nyamirambo on Wednesday afternoon. Royal Sport had the better chances to take the lead, but their several first-half attempts failed to hit the back of the net. Now they only have to wait until the 19th of this month, to redo what they did and probably hope that they will score. We take a short break. When we come back, it is the international news. Well, it's a wrap, and we really thank you for your company tonight. On behalf of the entire news production team, we will say asante sana. Of course, it's me, Ethan Tashobi, and of course my co-anchor here,
Isabel Masozera. And before we leave, Ethan, today is a very important day, especially for reggae lovers.
Yep.
Now, Bob Marley he died today, so it makes it Bob Marley Day, and this is a day that many reggae fans are proud of and do celebrate, and we do wish you a happy Bob Marley Day.
What is your favorite song of Bob Marley?
Bob Marley, I would say the list is endless.
Yeah.
The list is endless.
May you continue to rest in the jar life, in the eternity. Bob Marley, we love you from Africa. I mean, there are quite a couple of songs. So yeah, enjoy the reggae day, enjoy Bob Marley Day. Until next time, bye for now.